How you arrived at Newcastle? Tell us about the infamous day that you signed for the Magpies.
A bit like the day really, pissing down with rain. Just drove 5 hours a day, it's raining all the way. So, well, it was actually I was at Charlton, as everybody knows. Wanted to leave. Spoke to Alan Kirby, who was the manager at Charlton. So I said I want to leave, want to try and test myself at a higher level. And all of a sudden he said, well, Middlesbrough are coming for you. And would you believe they were in the Premier League at the time, so, which I never knew. I flew up to Middlesbrough, arrived at the Middlesbrough's airport, Teesside. Got an airport and all sorts up there, and raining, horrible, grey, terrible. I made a huge mistake, took me to Essendon Park. That was a shithole as well, Essendon Park. And I thought, oh, I'd be Dad with me. I thought, oh, Dad, I ain't coming here, by the way. I spoke to, I really liked Steve Gibson. I did like him. And Lenny Lawrence was the manager, was my manager at Charlton. So, but I just didn't fancy it at all. Got on, made my excuses, got on the plane, got myself back. Went home, sat to my wife, and just said, yeah, we're not going north. We're not going north here. It's raining. It's horrible. It's and within I don't know, half an hour, Alan Kirby rang me, what's happened? I said, yeah, I'm not going north, I'll wait for West Ham. They were rumoured to be coming in for me. He said, well, Kevin Keegan's coming here. So I said, well, where's he then? Generally thought he was still playing golf in Marbella, so I would quite fancy that. But there's a Newcastle, I said, listen, he's a big hero of mine, but I said, no, I don't fancy it. He said, well, just wants to speak to you, just wants to call you. So I said, yeah, he can call me, but I ain't going. 5 minutes later, the phone rings, it says, hi Rob, it's Kevin Keegan. I'm sitting next to my wife and go, it's Kevin Keegan. And he said, booked a plane here for tomorrow, I can't see us. I went, yeah, okay, no problem. Jumped on the plane, right at Newcastle Airport, much bigger airport, still raining though, it's still raining. And, got to St James's Park, much better stadium, but it's still raining, it's still grey. Met the steps by Kevin, and I just whispered in my wife's ear. I took over this time and just said, give us half an hour, love, we'll be back on the plane, we'll be home. She went off with the secretary, I went with Kevin, and he said, if anybody speaks to Kevin, he could tell you anything and you believe him, and he was my hero. And he told me that Newcastle was closer to London than Middlesbrough, which I believed. He generally told me that, so I believed him. He's a hero. He's not going to lie to me, is he? So I came out in half an hour speaking to Kevin, and I just whispered in my wife's ears. I said, "Pack your bags. I've just signed for 3.5 years." She's still with me though, so she's.
So who was part of the squad when you joined up?
They just signed, almost got relegated. I think David Kelly and Gavin Peake got saved from relegation to the old third division or first division as it is now, and they just signed, I think, John Beresford, Paul Bracewell, Barry Venison, and they had some good players there as well. We had a lot of the youngsters coming through, Lee Clark, Steve Howley, Steve Watson, Robbie Elliott, Alan Thompson. We had all these players coming through, so we had I got there and I thought, wow, this is a good team. And we just, I think I signed after 4 or 5 games of the season. And we were running, the winning streak of I think it was 11 games, winning 11 games until Grimsby. I think beat us, would you believe? But yeah, amazing. Never scored a goal like that before, or ever since, I think. And I knew we had a really, really good team. We had a great manager. Kevin was just forever just telling you. I'd been there 3 weeks, I think, and I'd been training for 3 weeks, and he just came up to me and he said, you want to play for England? And I was thinking, fucking hell. The right wing from Charlton, yeah? Surely, it's mad, it's crazy. And I went to Bez, who was sort of like, I was staying with him, and I said, it's that Keegan. I said, he's fucking mad. He said, I'm going to play for England. I said, but he says that to all the players, doesn't he? He went, "You didn't say it to me." And it was true. I think within 18 months, I was on the knocking on the door of England, and he said we'd go up. He said he said all these things when it seemed impossible, and they all came true.
That promotion season was something special, wasn't it? I mean, you know, Kevin Keegan's team coming up and getting promoted, fantastic, and you know, going into the Premier League, we'll come to that, of course. But from your perspective, you know, what was it like training with Kevin and Terry? Because we hear lots of stories. We hear that it was, you know, the training sessions where they weren't organised. There was no defences. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's spot on. It was mad because I've come from Charlton where we had Alan Curbishley, and I still see Curbs now. And you know, on a Friday we would have 2 hours and he'd give you like a dossier of who you're playing against, corners, free kicks, and we'd have 2 hours of practicing corners, practicing free kicks, defending, attacking. I used to hate it. I hated it. And I came to Newcastle and got in on the Wednesday, played a game on the Wednesday against Middlesbrough. We trained on the Thursday off, trained on the Friday. So the first training session on the Friday before a game, we played an 8-a-side in small goals, no goalies. Keegan and McDermott joined in for about 35, 40 minutes. And after the game, he just went, "Right, see you all tomorrow." And I'm thinking, I said, "Who's taking?" I went to Bears again. I said, "Who's taking the Bears?" Going, "Oh, it's Gaffer like." So I went up to the guy. I said, "Gaffer," I said, "what about corners and free kicks?" I said, "Who's taking them?" And he went, "Oh, if you're playing well, just take one." Jenny, it was always, we never practiced all the time. I was with Kevin 5 years. We never done corners. We never done free kicks. He just said, "Go out and play," and that's what we did. We did it. Now I think Mark Lawrence, he was getting a bit of stick in the press after 3 or 4 years. He brought Mark Lawrence in. I felt so sorry for Mark Lawrence because he was a great player, and he came in and he was here to do the defensive corners and free kicks. And I remember Kevin said, "Right, Laura, you take the defenders over there, and I'll take the forwards, and we'll have a bit of shooting and we'll have a game." And I could see Kevin, so he took us over. All the midfielders and forwards were over there, a bit of shooting, a bit of laughing. Laura was over there organising all the defenders and marking, and I can see Keegan after 5 minutes is like that. He's looking over there. "Laura, how long are you going to be?" He said, "Okay, I'm just setting up the thing." "Okay, all right." So a couple more shots, and he's like that again. "Laura, seriously, how long are you going to be?" He said, "Well, I've just done one corner." He said, "Well, hurry up, we're going to either side in a minute." And honestly, it was 5 minutes, so Laura's done 15 minutes, I reckon, 15 minutes. And he just shouted out, he said, "Laura, that's enough." He said, "Bring the lads over, it's an 8-a-side. And he never did anything. Laura never did anything from that minute on, apart from walk around and talk to this. He never let him do another session. And I felt, all he used to do, Laura, and he was there about 18 months, I think, he used to walk around and just chat to the lads, basically. Great job if you could get it, you know. I thought Terry did that, so. But it was, yeah, that's the way it was. He just said, "I buy good players," so I just let them play, and that's the whole ethos of what he did.
He bought a good player at the end of the promotion season, Andy Cole. What kind of difference did he make to the team?
Well, he made a huge difference with his goals. I mean, he just said to Andy Cole, you know, it's not like now, when the forwards are running back, and Cole never run back. He never wanted him to run back. He just said, "There's between that box is where you are. The rest of the lads, they'll do all the running. They'll get the ball to you. It's up to you to score goals." And that's the way we played. That's what we did. And he was a very, very good goal scorer. Brilliant goal scorer. Young, fresh. We had David Kelly scored 24 goals. Gavin Peacock got 20 odd goals as well. So Lee Clark was scoring goals, and I was getting a few. So we had plenty of goals from everywhere. He just he was the icing on the cake where we had somebody who could score 30, 40 goals, which made a difference to us. Really.
I guess the game that stands out for a lot of the fans was the final home game of the season against Leicester. 6-0 up at half time. I mean, what was it like to play in that game?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing game. I mean, I remember Sir John Paul singing Laden Races, I think, there was all sorts of stuff going on. I just remember Keegan before the game saying, he said, I fucking hope it's not like after the Lord Mayor show here, we're promoted. You know, I said, I don't want this all taken us away. I said, we have to beat Leicester. And, you know, luckily enough, we was, you know, so as you say, 6-0 up at half time. It was, and they weren't a bad team. I think they were in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, they were chasing on
our
tails.
Yeah, they were in the playoffs. So it was just an amazing experience of you know, thousands of Geordies locked out. And it was a stadium being built. It was just a you know, a thing of, you could see things to come were going to get big and big. When we got in the Premier League, which is the following season, so it was just it was a massive club, but it was going to be a ridiculous club. And you could see that by the stadium, by the fans, by the players we had.
Take us through a typical Kevin Keegan team talk. What was he like? What was he like in the dressing room? Because the training was just going out, you know, go and play football, and you know, there's no organisation on corners and set pieces. I can't imagine there's much of a tactical debate going on pre-match.
No, there was nothing at all. It was weird. I mean, I think I'm joking, but it was weird. He'd come in, he'd take the piss out of the lads' clothes, all the Andy Cole suits and Barry Renison suits, and sometimes he'd have a balled up and he'd have their team wrote down on the ball, and he'd go down the team of, and usually 1 to 11 in those days. And he'd go down the team and say, right, this is their team. He won't get in my team. He won't get in my team. He won't get in my team. And he'd go down every. He won't get in my team. He said, so you should basically beat this lot. And the only time I ever saw him change, we played Blackburn. He went, he won't get in my team. He got down to number 9. He went, he might. And then fucking cheer him. Well, we didn't no tactics, it was just basically go out and play. And he used to say it was, for the first 15 minutes, he said, get the crowd behind you. He said, attack them. And usually we were 2 or 3 up like that. So, and the game was over. You know what I mean? So it was just the way that he liked to play football.
You've touched on the crowd, so let's talk about that. You know, how important are the crowds at St James's Park, and you know, what can you draw from that as a player? What did you draw from that as a player when you put on the black and white shirt?
Oh, listen, I came from Charlton, so I had 4,000 cockneys chirping at me from came to Newcastle. At the time, it was 30,000 screaming Geordies, and I think Keegan they tells a story. I used to sometimes I'd actually pass to the crowd. I don't know if people remember it, probably do. Because he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Fucking black and white shirts everywhere." It took me a while to get used to it, because I used to just do things instinctively. I'd get it out of my feet and I'd turn around and ping it out there, and then all of a sudden I think, "Fuck, that's the crowd." So never helped me a lot, but yeah, it was amazing to, you know, as I said, Charlton was a lovely club, great club, nice club, but going from that to going to, you know, I went, you know, my first game away was Peterborough away, and I fucking took the town over. You know, my mum and dad came, and the wife came. It was just a sea of black and white, and that was the first time I've ever experienced that, and that was every single game.
One player that stood out for me that season was Brian Kilcline. He was often, you know, referred to as Kevin Keegan's best signing at that time.
I wouldn't say best signing.
No, that goes to you, you know that. Before he signed you, obviously. But yeah, Brian Kilcline was said to be the blue chip player, the player that kept Newcastle up and you know, stopped us going down the third division.
Killer was brilliant because he was just like this. You know, I first met him, I shit myself. I mean, he's a huge man. He's got this big bushy hair, big bushy beard, and he looks so scary. But he is the quietest spoken man ever. Like he S's and T's, and he's very polite. And but as a captain, as somebody who brought all the lads together, he was brilliant. And a lot of the time, with respect, he wasn't playing, but he'd still be in the dressing rooms. You know, I saw Eddie Howe going about the Lascelles the other day. And I presume it's very similar. The Lascelles haven't played much, and everyone goes, well, he's not good enough to get in the team. And Killer probably wasn't good enough to get in the team. But he didn't let that affect him, because some players are not in the team can be arses. And he was brilliant. He was cheering the lads up, and I think he realised he's a bit older, there were some better players than him. he was still a huge part of that team, really.
Yeah, a very big part of that team. So into the Premier League we go. You know, Keegan said you're going to play for England at some point, but you couldn't have expected that kind of start in the Premier League, could you? Was it a fantastic start when Newcastle got off to a flyer? And you know,
No, we didn't. He got beat by Spurs.
Yes, but I mean getting into
getting in there
and doing what they did.
And you know, I don't remember Keegan's again. He came out with a great quote to Alex Ferguson as we went up. You know, we're coming for your title. I remember being away with Bears saying, "Fucking, what's he said now?" But that's the way he was. I mean, the first game we lost to Spurs. I think we went to Coventry and we got beat by Coventry. It wasn't until we played Man United away where we drew 1-1. And we actually found our feet. You know, Coley scored his first goal. We played really well. We could have beat them. And we thought, well, if we can beat Man United, then we're not bad. And I think most of the lads then, because most of us hadn't played in the Premier League or the top divisions, and I think everyone then knew that we ain't as bad as it thinks. And from then on, we went on an unbelievable. I think we finished fourth, third or fourth, which for a team getting promotion now, it'd be unheard of. Did
it feel like a big step up in those first few games?
Yeah, it was totally different. You know, playing against better players, bigger players, stronger players. So yeah, it was a totally different ball game. Really. It was quicker. A lot of the players, you know, I think my first game I played against Sol Campbell. He was only a young kid who played left back. And Keegan said, "Oh, he's a young kid playing left back." I said, "Get at him." And I was playing right wing in those days, and I said, "Yeah, no problem, yeah." Fuck me. He was quick, he was strong. So I've done the old faithful one when I moved inside and started playing inside a bit. When you realise you can't get past somebody, but he was only a young kid coming through. But you could see that there were some fantastic players coming through in those days. So it was much more difficult. But we'd signed Peter Beardsley, which made a huge difference to us. I remember Kevin ringing me. I was on holiday. And he said, "Oh, I've just signed a great player. I love playing with him." I said, "Who's that?" So Peter Beardsley. Peter Beardsley again was another one of my heroes. So it was amazing. I remember David Kelly tells a great story. David Kelly he was our top goal scorer in that promotion season. And he said that Keegan running was on his car on the way down to the Midlands where he was living. And he said, "I'm selling you." David Kelly said, "What? Some top goal scorer, got 24 goals?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've decided I'm going to sell you. I'm replacing you with someone." And David Kelly went, "What the fuck are you replacing me with?" And he said, "Oh, Peter Beardsley." And David Kelly went, "Yeah, good shout." And he drove on the walls. But he made a huge difference to our team. He was, you know, people go about great players, but Peter Beardsley was one of the greatest players I've played with.
You talked about playing wide right. What was your favourite position to play in at Newcastle?
I much preferred it when once we signed Rule Fox. I always wanted to, when I was playing in the training sessions, I always played in the middle. I never played the wings. I didn't like it out there. You have to rely on other people to get you the ball, and as I say, if you've got someone who can't get past you, you're knackered. And I wasn't lightning quick. I was okay. I mean, I could twist and turn. And I think Keegan saw that I could do that in the middle. So once we signed Rule Fox, he just said to me, "Listen, you're going to play midfield, you're going to play Venice next year, and you're going to get forward and get in the box and score goals," and that's the way it worked out. Really.
With that strong finish in the Premier League, European nights were back, and of course that first night in Europe is one that you'll never forget. Royal Antwerp.
It was amazing. Yeah, again, I think we've won every single game, and we've got drawn against Royal Antwerp away. We feared nobody. You know, we didn't fear anybody. We had a good team. We knew that. Peter he'd done his cheekbone. We hadn't played him all for the first 5-6 games, which we won. And Keegan brought it back for the Royal Antwerp. And, again, I remember the team talk at Royal Antwerp. It was the longest team talk Keegan ever did. He said, "Lads, I want to speak to you all before the game." He never does this. Kappa never pulls us all in. So we're all sitting there, and he sit us down, a bit like we all are now. All the lads are like, and Keegan's like, "All right, lads," he said, "Me and Terry, we played in Europe. we've won the European Cup. None of you have. I think, oh great, none of you have played in it. We hadn't really. None of us have played it. Peter hadn't even played it because of Firesall. So none of you have played it. We know what we're talking about. So what you want to do, we used to do it at Liverpool all the time. We go all the away games, we get a nice 0-0, we bring them back home and beat them. Alright, no problem. So we went out to play against Anfield, went out and I scored after a minute. I think we were 3-0 up at half time. And I just remember coming in the change room and Keegan sitting on the chair and he's like that. What's wrong with him? And he went, Terry, they never fucking listen, do they? We ended up winning 5-0 and we won the home game 5-2, I think. So it was like 10 goals in our first European game. So, but no, it was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And from your perspective, I've got to ask you, Peter Beardsley, we've had him in the Surf Cafe about 5-6 times over the course of the last 12 months. He says he sits and watches himself on YouTube. How many times have you watched that game back, away in Antwerp?
Well, it's really grainy now. I try and get the kids to watch it, but they've got no interest. It's not in high definition apparently. So no, yeah, I watched it a few times. But it's when you're doing the thing, score a hat trick of headers in Europe is amazing. But when you're actually doing it, you don't realise what you're doing until you retire, you become an old fart, and you think, oh, and it's all on YouTube. And you think, oh, I'll have a quick watch of that, and it's yeah, I did okay. So I did all right. I was all right in my head. So yeah, no, I still can't get my kids to watch it, but it's a great feeling what you do.
Those first years in the Premier League, there was no Russian oligarchs in the Premier League. John Hall was splashing the cash. They brought a few foreigners in. Let's talk about a few of them. David Ginola, first and foremost.
It's one word for David, beautiful he was. What a beautiful man he was. I remember him walking in the dressing room and again I was changing next to Bez and Jesus Christ, who's that? I never, we'd signed Les with, with Les, I was with England with Les and Warren, so I sort of like, I knew the guys and I was trying to persuade Les to sign for us for ages. But they signed this guy from PSG and I just remember him walking in like Adonis, walking in. And I remember we used to train at Maiden Castle. It's an open training ground, so we shared it with the university students. And I remember David Ginola walking in, and me and Bez are getting changed, and over there's like a fat student. He's getting changed ready for his badminton or something, and I can see Ginola getting changed, and he's got his ribs and his hair's immaculate, and he's looked over at he's thinking, he went to me and Bez went, he said, you English players, you do not look after yourself. I go, no, it's not what it's I'm trying to explain it, no, actually, he's just a student. So, but he was amazing. And then he was sponsored by L'Oreal and police sunglasses. I remember after about a year he came, and it's a French thing. So I bought you some L'Oreal and some French. He said, just help yourself to one. Listen, we had Lee Clark, Steve Watson. They were gone within fucking 5 minutes. He's come out of the shower, everything's gone by the way. Fucking Geordies, he said. He was a great guy. He got on brilliantly. He used to go out with the lads. He got on fantastically well. And it was some experience going out with him and Les Burnham in Julius. I know that.
From Parma came Tino as well, and those infamous photographs of him arriving at St James's Park in the snow. What was he like?
Mad. Yeah, absolutely mad. I still speak to him now. When you get older in Colombia, he tried to invite us all out to Colombia for his 50th to play on his football pitch out in Medellin, which yes is where all the drugs are and stuff. So I said to Al, I said, shall we go? He said, yeah, I never kidnapped me. So, we didn't talk about going to kidnap him, but, so we ended up not going. But Tino's just he said, no, it's okay. I said, I'll pick you up in the airport. I have friends with guns, and that scared out of even more. So, but no, he's still again, his language or his English language is terrible. He still knows a few words. Shit, he knows. But he just got it. The lads used to abuse his house. But he used to invite everybody back to his house for a party after Julius at 3 o'clock in the morning. After people we never knew, you know, a jacuzzi, had all sorts in his house. And he used to go, his dress sense was dreadful. He had like Disney characters on his pyjamas, and he'd walk around in Disney stuff. But he was brilliant. I mean, and then once it left and he got to Columbia, he sent all the lads a present. Apparently now he's the face of a condom. He's got his face on condoms. It's called the Tino. So, and he sent all the lads and the married lads all these condoms, which I had to explain to their wife what they were for. So, but yeah, he's got his own condom range now. So it's the old Tino. So,
good luck to him with that. We had a Belgian as well, who will always remember chipping Peter Schmeichel in that 5-0 win against Manchester United. Philip Albert. I mean, any stories about him?
He was just Philip was just a great player. I mean, I haven't seen a centre. I mean, I played with some very good centre halves. You know, Rio Ferdinand was at England, was a great ball playing centre half. I'd never seen anything like Philip. Before he got he'd done his ACL, he was unbelievable football. He used to chip Pavel and all the keepers all the time. I mean, he was so good. I couldn't believe he was a centre half, but he was brilliant. But again, it was another. I think we've got the same sort of foreigners now. They go as mad as our foreigners weren't, but they get the area, they get the people. You know, Bruno and that, they seem to Joe. They seem to get what it's all about. And the foreigners we brought in got that. We had a great team spirit. You know, we used to go and we'd stay in the hotel, and the young Geordies would go and get them out of the hotel room, take them for a night in Julius. Which they either liked or they didn't, and most of them liked it and got it, and Philip loved it. He absolutely loved it.
The big signing, I guess, and somebody who became a very close friend of yours, you mentioned earlier, when Kevin said he might get into my team. Number 9, England's number 9, and eventually Newcastle's number 9, Alan Shearer. What was it like when he arrived at the club for you as a player?
Well, to be fair, when we was in England, we didn't like each other. You know, he's a Geordie, I was a Cockney. He used to grunt at me, and I used to grunt back at him, sort of thing. I think he was pissed that I was playing for his hometown club, and he wasn't. But no, and then once he got to the club, we had the same sense of humour. We got on great. Our wives got on great. You know, our kids still go out together now, sort of thing. So, but we was away actually. We was just on the plane to China for 3.5 weeks in China. When Keegan got off the plane, and we knew something was going on, and then we'd always heard the rumours, and then we'd signed Alan Shearer. You know, the thing was, in those days, not like these days. In those days, he wasn't allowed to fly with us because the insurance was too much. So we had to fly ourselves, and then I had to fly with sort of like Freddie Shepherd and that, because we couldn't pay the insurance. We could pay the 15 million for him, but we couldn't afford the insurance, which was weird. But it was, he kind of, you know, everyone knows. They think he's boring, but he's actually quite fun. So, don't tell him I said that way. But you know, I get on great with him. He's a great man. He was, you know, the best centre forward that the country's ever seen. So.
Let's talk a little bit about that season. The season we didn't win the league. I mean, it was a fantastic achievement to lead the table for so long. We always ask you this question: why do you think we didn't win the league that season?
Wow, I've been asked it so many times, and I've got so many different answers. Really, it's a combination of a lot of things. I think I don't think people realise how good Man United were. Well, great team there. You know, the youngsters they had coming through were frighteningly good. I know Alan Hand said never win anything with kids, but they had some brilliant. I think they won 13 out of 14 games, and then we'd always be playing after them because we were in the lead, and then we'd always hear, you know, had Man United get on well, they won 1-0. Schmeichel was brilliant, and Cantona scored. You know, I think the pivotal game was when we played them at home. We actually battered them at home, and Schmeichel was brilliant, and Cantona scored. I think that was sort of like I thought that game, we would have beaten in that game, which we should have done. I mean, Les and Tino had some unbelievable chances, as everybody did, and I think it would have demoralised them a lot. You know what I mean? I know the Liverpool game, people mentioned Liverpool, Blackburn, and they mentioned quite a few of the games, but I think for me that was the pivotal game, the Man United. We played so well. We beat them 5-0 the following season, but we could have beaten 5-0 that game. So it's but there's people blame David Bally, they blame Tino, they blame everything really, but it's just one of those seasons that but the thing is we thought, oh, what we'll do, we'll win it next year. We're that good a team. We thought we'd win it next year. We signed Alan Shearer, thought we were going to win it next year. And I think if Kevin Keegan hadn't left, I think at Christmas time, I genuinely think we'd have won something.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking for the fans as well as the players. Can you remember that infamous interview? I'd love it if we beat them. What was your view and the players' view when that started? Come out of the dressing room.
What was on the bus? I think it was after Leeds. I think Sky came on, and he did that all the time. He would. Kevin was very sort of like wore his heart on his sleeve, and he would say stuff, and he could slaughter players, with one word, or he could build you up to be 10 foot tall, and it was just the way that he was. I mean, I remember when we got promoted that season, first season '92, we'd won the league at Grimsby, and we had I think 3 more games to play. So we're all out on the piss after the Grimsby game for a few days, and we played Oxford, I think, next. And we're drawing 0-0 at home to Oxford, and half time, Keegan's gone ballistic. I'm not putting up with that. That's shit. I'm not putting up with that. Fans pay good money. They're not going to get beat here. We're destroying it. If I don't get better, so I'm going home with it. You don't go home. We came in there, but we won the game, I think 2-0. Came in after, he's gone. And we said, Terry, where's he going? He said, he went home. He said he wasn't enjoying it at all. And that was Kevin. We wasn't allowed to run the ball into corners. See people running the ball in a corner. he hated that. None of the lads dared do that because he'd take you off. I mean, if we were winning 2-1, he wanted to win 3-1. He wanted to win 4-1. And I think that came from Bill Shankly. That's why they played at Liverpool. And he saw, which I totally agree with him. He saw football as an entertainment, as people should be entertained, and I think that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to entertain them, and that's why he bought forwards and midfielders, and very few. No much time you told him to buy a centre half, he wouldn't.
I guess another infamous KK moment is when he came out on the steps after he sold Andy Cole. But from your perspective, I mean, was that out of the blue? Did you expect it?
Yes, I did. Colby was being a bit of a, I don't know if he'd been tapped up or not, it's like, but he was being a bit, he went and played Wimbledon away, and he would, I think Keegan said to him, and he could sort of like, if he didn't want to train, he got the he'd get a pet lip on, and he wouldn't, he'd just stand around, and I think Keegan got pissed off with him and said, you're not going to train, fuck off. So he did. And he fucked off before the game, and we didn't see him. We didn't see him for a couple of days. And it was sort of like petulance. He was only a young kid. He'd been tapped up. I'm sure he had been. And I think Keane thought, well, if you don't want to play for us, then we'll get rid of him. And I knew he had his eye on Leicester and places. We just, unfortunately, we had to wait until the summer to get Les. That was left us really short with about 4. But he always knew what he was doing. He always had a plan. So we trusted him implicitly wherever he was going.
One person we haven't spoken about is Pavel Srnicek. The late great Pavel Srnicek, now very sadly. But what was he like as a person and as a player?
Great guy. Scary. Could kick you with his foot in your head. Used to karate kicks above your head, and his deep voice. I got on really, really well with him, but he's just sort of like I think consistency stopped him being like a world-class goalkeeper. For some of the saves he made, his agility was ridiculous. But he just made a few errors and stuff on the easy stuff, really. But I the last time I saw him was Steve Harper's testimonial, and he'd always, throughout his career, as you know, Steve, very much a family man, never drunk, never did anything. I remember seeing him at Steve Harper's testimonial, he had a glass of red wine in his hand. I said, fucking hell, pal. I said, what's happened? He said, me and my wife were split up. He said, I've started drinking now as well. I said, fucking brilliant. And I thought, we'll have Pav out now a few of our nights out in Newcastle. Fucking brilliant. We'll get Pav on the drink, it'll be great. And unfortunately, it was only 6 months later, I think, he collapsed when he was running, so that's why I never run. Fittest man in the world. Yeah, it was a great guy, you know, a brilliant guy, and it's such a shame.
You mentioned Kevin leaving. That must have been a pause from the blue for everybody.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge, especially for people like Alan. You know, Alan Shearer Kevin was his idol as well as mine, and most of the lads who signed all signed for Kevin originally. He was a major factor that Alan wanted to come back to Newcastle. He was a major factor of Kevin Keegan was Newcastle, and for him to persuade Alan to come, you know, he had top Man United and Italian clubs after him. So he could have gone anywhere really at that time. She was the best player in the world at the time, goal scorer. But he persuaded him to come to Newcastle, persuaded David Ginola not to go to Barcelona because of Barcelona coming with Ginola. He said, give me another year, 18 months, and we'll win the league. And for most of the players, sort of like me, you know, we trusted him really. And then for him to walk out, especially with, I know Alan was pissed at the time. I think David Ginola was as well. So it was just sort of like, it was really, and I know it's not, normally a manager leaves when the team are doing crap, you know, you're getting beat, you're bottom of the league. I think we did left, we were fourth in the league, still playing the FA Cup when we were playing Charlton, still in Europe I think as well. So it wasn't because of the football reasons, it was all the off-field stuff that was going on with the adventure and everything that was going on with the club being floated, I think, and that's the shameful thing really, because we never struggled with it.
Soon to be replaced though by Kenny Dalglish, and I think you struggle to find a Newcastle fan who supported Newcastle at that time who would say Kenny Dalglish was a great manager. I think we all expected great things. It was always going to be a hard act to follow, wasn't it? Kenny coming in.
No, it wasn't hard, it was impossible. It doesn't matter who you got in. I think they got Kenny in, I think because obviously they just signed Alan for 15 million, so they had to appease Alan, and they knew that Kenny and Alan were great mates anyway, and he'd done great. They won the league at Blackburn. So at the time, I thought it was a fantastic appointment. You couldn't ask for any more. Somebody won the league, legend, and he's also keeping your £15 million player, Harris Larry. So I thought it was a great signing. I just think he signed some shit players, in my opinion.
Most people's opinion,
especially foreign ones. Des Allen was alright, but apart from that, so I thought at the time it was a great thing for him to do, but it never worked out for whatever reason. My reasons is we had a great team, and instead of just sort of like tinkering with it and making it a little bit better, he destroyed it. He got rid of Les, replaced it with John Dale Thomas, and got rid of Bears, replaced it with Stoney. So I just think the players that he was replacing, good players, wasn't good enough.
In his defence, I'll always say as well, he lost Shearer to a bad injury. He couldn't get Les back because Les was a man of his word, and that didn't help, did it?
No, that killed us. That tournament we played at Everton where Alan broke his ankle and dislocated his ankle, and Les was on his way down to Spurs. I think I was on the phone late saying, Les, don't go, and he said it's too late. So and then John Dale Thomason played up front. To be fair, in pre-season he was unbelievable. He scored. People played 8 pre-season games. He got 9 goals or something. And I just remember that. It's funny how football is. I remember him going through the first game of the season against Sheffield Wednesday, 1-on-1, and he missed. And he never recovered. And he went on to play for AC Milan. He went on to play for World Cup. Yeah. But he never recovered. I know he was only a young kid at the time, but just that one thing. If he'd have scored that goal, I think he would have probably gone on to be a Newcastle legend. He was a very, very good player, but his confidence was shot really.
That team got us to a cup final though.
It did, yeah. No, it wasn't a bad team. It just wasn't as good as I think that the Keegan team that was left. it wasn't as good as that. I think it was from the moment Keegan went, I think the club started going like steady until Bobby came. I think we started going. It was a gradual. I can see it was a gradual. When Rude Hollywood, they went fucking down a lot.
Don't worry, we'll come to briefly at the end of the first half. I always try to time it till we've only got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it was like that, and fucking bet like that. And the great Bobby Robson coming, so yeah.
Okay, sexy football. Dear me, I don't want to get you in a bad mood for the rest of the night. But yeah, I mean, what went wrong?
Honestly, it's the most arrogant person I've ever met in my life. He was a great footballer. I admired him as a football player, but as a manager, he was dreadful. I mean, from the word go, we didn't get on, and I was his captain, so it was always going to end in disaster. But you know, I think in the end he tried to take on Alan, which was he thinks he's going to be bigger than Alan in Newcastle. He's going to be massively mistaken. And I think that Alan signed a new 5-year contract with Freddie Shepherd behind his back. I found funny, but I didn't go down with it.
There was an interesting kick about though, wasn't he? He did like to get involved in.
Oh yeah, he thought he was the best player. Yeah, genuinely thought he was the best player. But again, I've got one good memory of Rupert there, and that was he used to play like an 8 sides, and he'd always play. And it was raining, it was muddy, it was a horrible day, and he played 8 side. We played the English or the British with the foreigners. So we had myself, Alan, Duncan Ferguson, Stuart Pearce, John Barnes, Gary Speed, and they had Didier Domi, Goma, Pistoni, all these legendary players were signed over the year. And then, would you believe at half time they beat us 1-0? And Rude's playing for them, and he's being all cocky, he's jumping up and down, and he's going. See, he never won anything with the British, it's always the foreigners who win. And I remember Piercy walking towards me, and he's pulling his shorts out, and his big fucking thighs are coming like that. And he said, Rob, he said, next time you get the ball, he said, stick it between me and that big. Sorry, language, that was his exact words to me. And I said, yeah, right, no problem, I can do that. So honestly, the game's playing the game, and it's muddy, it's raining, and I saw Piercy, and I put it just in front of Piercy. I saw the manager just in front of Piercy, so I stuck it between them. And then all of a sudden, Piercy just smashed through there. He's done a somersault. His dreadlocks are everywhere. He's landed in the mud, and I just remember him jumping up, thinking, oh, I'm going to fucking get her out there. And he jumped in, look. Oh, Piercy, lovely boy, lovely boy. Good tackle. That's my only great memory of Rudel.
Fantastic. We'll cut Rudel at there before you get angry. So Bobby, on the day today, 14 years, we were just talking about it in the car, 14 years today since Sir Bobby passed away, and I think it's a round of applause for Sir Bobby today.
Legendary. Yeah, he was brilliant. He came in again. I think we were bottom of the league. I wasn't in the team. Duncan wasn't playing. Alan wasn't playing. There was quite a few of us wasn't playing. And he got us all in the room and said, "Listen, you're going to be the mainstay of this team. You're going to be my blue chip brigade." He called us, myself, Warren Barton, Speedo, Shay, myself, and Alan. Said, "You're going to be the mainstay of the team. You just got to we've got good players. You just got to get you playing, get you all playing again, get you all fit again, and we'll be fine." And that's what it was. Bobby was like he was. It was just like playing for your granddad. It's all like everyone's seen Kes, haven't they? It's like, you know, that school teacher Kes. Bobby was like that. He'd come out and he got his old booked tracksuit on, and I'm sure his World Cup boots from 1956. And he'd come out and in those days it was like when you're doing stretches you mustn't bounce. Because we had like fitness coach Paul Winsper who's done very well in the States, and he sort of, don't bounce anymore, you sort of stretch, and Bobby went, right lads, bounce. If it was if it was a really windy day, you know, as it was, it'd do heading practice, and the ball would be going fucking everywhere, and and you just couldn't get annoyed with him. That was the thing. So everyone, if he left you out, or if he, you know, he had a go at you, you couldn't get annoyed with him. It's sort of like this. Oh, that's that problem like this. And I remember the great story that I tell, and it's a true story. Was when I was leaving Newcastle, and I was still playing the team, and we were I think we were doing really well, fourth in the league or so. I got to Christmas time, and I said to Bobby, I said, Gaffer, listen, like another contract really. 36, I'll take it 37, don't want any more money, I just want another year. He went, oh son, he said, I don't do the contracts. He said, Freddie Shepherd does it all. I went, oh right, okay. And I've been here 10 years, so Freddie's never done a contract. So I went across to St James's Park, next day, I said, Freddie, like a new contract. He said, I don't do the contracts, well, Bobby does it all. So I said, yeah, I thought that was the case. So I went back to the gaffer, I said, I knocked on the door, I said, Gaffer, can I work? Yeah, no problem, son. He said, I just here to see the chairman. He said, you do all the contracts. Yes, I do all the contracts, son. And I said, well, I'd like a new contract, so I'm sort of the team. What do you remember? Your lexicon, son, your lexicon. So I said, all right, so I knew West Ham was Glen Road had been tapping me up, so I said, well, will you let me go? And again he went, I said, I can't let you go, so you're your best player. I said, genuinely what he said. And I just walked out. I walked out of the room, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where to go.
Listen. Last thing before we finish for the half-time break. That goal at Wembley, Rob. Semi-final. What an opportunity to chalk your name into folklore. What was it like to score that goal? What was it like, feeling that atmosphere from the crowd?
No, it was amazing. It was probably the other times we've been there in the 2 cup finals. We haven't played well. Deservedly got beaten. In Charity Shield we got battered. So the 3 times we've been there, we hadn't scored a goal. We hadn't played well. And against Chelsea, we actually did play well. But to score a goal, again, you don't realise what you're doing until it's over and you're done. And then someone says to you, we haven't scored a goal. Newcastle did a goal scored since Alan Gowrie, I think.
76. In
the 70s, yeah. So it's all like it's an unbelievable feeling. And you know what makes it better? Alan Shearer's never scored for Newcastle. I don't care if he's got 160 goals. He has never scored for his hometown team at Wembley, and it pisses him off.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great place to end the first half. We have to get a lovely. Now.